Chapter 6. Step 3. Change your associations. You become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. Choose carefully. Jim Rohn. Your associations will make or break you. During my years of growth and personal development, there was one thing I kept hearing over and over again that really stuck with me. You are the sum total of the 5 people you hang around most. As kids, we heard this so many different ways. I remember my grandmother not being too fond of some of my friends growing up. She would say, "I don't want those people influencing you." And my response would be something like, "They won't, Grandma. I'm my own man." Or my uncle would say something like, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future." As teenagers, we all hear this blah, 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 without realizing what these adults were telling us was a universal truth. The definition of influence in the English dictionary is the ability to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, or the effect itself. This has to do with human nature and that feeling of wanting to belong. Let me give you an example. If the 5 people you hang around most are in shape, and you're the only one who isn't in shape, that feeling of disconnection or not feeling like you belong will tug at you in a natural form of peer pressure, and it will cause you to start to want to get in shape so that you can fit in with your group of friends. That was a positive example. The opposite is true too. If you hang around 5 people who are smokers, the chances of you being at a gathering with them and lighting up a cigarette or a joint after being offered one while drinking are high. Eventually, the peer pressure will get to you. It happens at an unconscious level. The same formula applies to money too. If the 5 people you hang around most make $30,000 a year, but you want to make $100,000 a year, it's going to be tough for you to do because most of your day was being influenced by 5 people who have a $30,000 a year mentality. You might disagree with me. You may be saying to yourself while reading this section what I used to say. I can think for myself. If I don't want to do something, Steve, I'm not going to do it. Believe me, I understand what you are saying, and let's keep it 100. Your influences, those 5 people you are around the most, they are who you are. Since you're going to go where they go, do what they do, eat what they eat, watch what they watch, talk about what they talk about, listen to what they're listening to, and read what they read, tell me, how would it be possible for you to do what everyone else in the group is doing and get a different result than them? The truth is, you can't. Why, you ask? Remember back in step 1 where we talked about the radio frequencies? If you and I both have walkie-talkies and we want to communicate with each other through those walkie-talkies, we have to make sure that each of our walkie-talkies are tuned into the same frequency. It's the same with your friends, family, and significant others. It is human nature not to want to feel disconnected with the people you love or care about the most. I mentioned before that Tony Robbins talks about the 6 basic human needs. Well, another one of those 6 basic needs besides certainty is the need for love and connection. To me, this is the one that we all crave the most. In my opinion, there is no worse feeling than the feeling of loneliness, which is different from being alone. Alone is having no one else present, basically being by yourself. We all love a little bit of alone time. However, lonely is being sad because one has no friends or company. That means you can be in a room or house full of people and feel abandoned, unloved, rejected, isolated, and unwanted. Basically, feeling lonely is being without connection. That's whether you are in a room full of people or by yourself. And side note, when you're not connected with yourself, when you don't love yourself, no matter how many people you are around, you will still feel lonely and without connection. I know that's not the most motivating thing to hear, but I'm trying to prove a point. We as human beings will do anything to avoid that depressing ass feeling of loneliness. And I mean anything. We will sacrifice our morals and values to avoid this painful feeling, even when we know some of the people we hang out with are toxic. This feeling of loneliness, in my opinion, is the number one contributing factor to suicide. I know that's what I felt when I attempted it. So we will do anything to avoid it. This is why influence is so powerful, and why it's so easy for you to end up somewhere you don't want to be just because of who you hang around. Les Brown says, if you are the smartest person in your group of friends, you need a new group of friends. You want to set yourself up to win by surrounding yourself with people who are better than you, with people who are either going in the same direction as you and are just as committed as you to the attainment of your best life, or people who already have what you want in life so that you can learn from them. Set yourself up to become what I call a victim of achievement. This means you purposefully surround yourself with the most successful people that you can find. Just like when we talk about you are who you hang around because you go where they go, do what they do, talk about what they talk about, read what they read, and listen to what they listen to. If this is a universal law, then use this law to work for you and move you toward your best life, rather than against you, keeping you stuck where you are.
Why do we keep toxic people around us? The main reason is just what I explained in the last section. But there's another one as well. People pleasing. There is a huge difference between pleasing people and being kind. Most of us suffer from the disease of pleasing people. What's the difference? The definition of kind is quality of consideration, generous, love. And if we study the word considerate, it means showing a careful thought. So basically, if we're being kind to someone, it means you're doing whatever it is that you are doing for them out of love. You're doing it out of careful thought and consideration. You're doing it because you want to do it, expecting nothing in return. On the other hand, if we look at what it means to please or be a people pleaser, it means satisfying or to appeal to. And to appeal to means to be attractive. That means if you're doing something for someone to please them, you're doing it only to try to stay emotionally attractive to them. Keep the love and connection, remember? It's not from the kindness of your heart, not because you truly want to do it. You're just afraid if you don't do it, you'll lose them and they won't like you. And if they don't like you, then you're going to make it mean something negative about you. So you're doing it in order to remain in their good graces, which means you feel like crap afterwards. And by the way, that's a good indication to tell you whether you're doing something out of pleasing or kindness. How do you feel afterwards? We are constantly in our heads about all the negative things that can happen as a result of letting go of this toxic person, or what my Auntie Brenda calls playing the tape. However, we never really think about all the positive things that would happen if we do let go of these toxic relationships. There's a cost to keeping these toxic people in your life, and there's a cost to letting them go. You have to decide which one is more expensive. Some people you spend 2 days with, you need to cut to 20 minutes. Some people you spend 20 minutes with, you need to cut to 2 minutes. And some people you spend 2 minutes with, you need to cut out completely. So now that you know you have to change your associations and let go of toxic relationships, what do you do with the rest of the people around you so that you can make the changes you want to make in order to live your best life? Answer: you set boundaries. Boundaries. The very definition of a boundary is a line that is not to be crossed. When you enter into a relationship, friendship, or business partnership, etc., you must draw the line and effectively teach that other person how to have a successful relationship with you. If you don't feel you're getting the respect or support you feel like you deserve, it's because you don't have boundaries. People who don't have boundaries, guess what? They're fucking miserable. I know, because that was me. I was miserable for so long without boundaries. Without boundaries, people don't respect you. They can't respect you. If they feel that they can treat you any kind of way and you're just going to let it happen, how can they possibly respect you? You're not setting limits to show them how to treat you. You're effectively telling people, this is a line you don't cross with me. And if you do, there will be consequences. Not like fighting consequences, but possibly termination of our friendship or relationship. When I was beginning my journey, my exact words would be, either don't say shit at all or say something supportive. But if you say some negative shit, I'm going to have to cut you off. The truth is, you have friends that do have boundaries, and guess what? You abide by them whether you care to admit it or not, don't you? People respect those who have boundaries. You may say, Steve, I do have boundaries, but guess what? You're too chicken shit to enforce them. That's right. I said it. You tell people how to treat you, you set boundaries, but because you're afraid of rejection or being lonely, back to people pleasing, you don't enforce the consequences of crossing those boundaries. Teach people how to deserve your time. I promise you, the consequences of having boundaries are a hell of a lot better than the consequences of not having them. Eliminate expectations. Steve Chandler said that expectations are the mother of all ruined relationships. What are expectations really? They are requirements that we put on others. They are a form of control. Think about the last time your boss or spouse or anybody came to you and said, I expect you to do blank. How do you feel? Steve Chandler says that an inner sense of rebellion comes up in us because none of us feel like we were put on this earth to be expected to do anything from any other human being. Our inner sense of freedom starts to feel threatened when someone says, I expect you to do something. Expectations are the leading cause of disappointment, especially in relationships. Expectation is defined as a strong belief that something will happen or be the case in the future. When talking about your expectation of others, it is about you being able to predict how they are going to behave. That is your basic human need for certainty at play. Remember, our brain's number one job is to keep us safe. We need to be able to predict what's going to happen in life and with those who are closest to us. The definition of disappointment is a sadness or displeasure caused by the non-fulfillment of one's hopes or expectations. And displeasure means the feeling of annoyance or disapproval. So when we can't predict behavior, we become sad or angry or annoyed. It is a natural human response. The truth is, you cannot control another human being for the simple fact that perception is interpretation, as we talked about before in step 2. You have different sets of values, beliefs, worldviews, memories, and modes of operating safely in the world. You are two different people with two different minds, two different sets of desires. Therefore, by having expectations of others, of what they should or should not do, and how they should or should not behave, you are causing your own disappointment.